wanted to know about stroke in the occipital cortex and when does it become incurable or curable. So I don't really like these words because in ischemia, stroke is our lay term, and that can mean ischemic infarction, which is irreversible, versus ischemia, which is still reversible. So I prefer the terms reversible ischemia and irreversible ischemia. And the major parameter determining this is time. So time is brain. And so the way an occipital ischemic infarction comes to us is with a contralateral homonymous hemianopsia. So if you have a left occipital stroke, you'll get a right homonymous hemianopsia. And if that comes to us within the stroke TPA window, and it's not a hemorrhage, but an ischemic stroke, we can give the TPA, and time is brain, and you might have a fully reversible homonymous hemianopic field defect if we give the clotbuster TPA. We might get partial recovery, and that means this person will be able to drive. So in the United States, if you have a complete homonymous hemianopsia, you cannot drive. But if you have a partial, you might still be able to drive, and if it's reversible, you'll be able to drive. So you can see how this person who has an acute right homonymous hemianopsia secondary to a left occipital ischemic infarction can either have a reversible or irreversible ischemic infarction, and the time is brain. And that's because there's an ischemic infarction at its core in, let's say, the posterior cerebral artery, but surrounding the core is a penumbra. And that penumbra is not completely dead. Now, it might be mostly dead, but mostly dead is somewhat alive, and that means it might still be reversible. So in answer to the question, if you have an occipital stroke, is it curable or incurable? I prefer reversible versus irreversible. Time is brain, and we're trying to reverse the ischemic infarction that will occur in the penumbra, and if we're in the TPA window and it's non-hemorrhagic, and they're a candidate based on the criteria for inclusion, we might be able to reverse a right homonymous hemianopsia.